For a while there, I was reporting on how DeSantis and the GOP in Florida were coming after their undocumented migrant population and how it would impact their agriculture, well, the United States' agriculture, and their travel industry. So this was in Forbes, and this article came out back in April of 2024. I was reminded about it in one of the comments. How did they fare? Because they lost billions of dollars because of this. According to Forbes, Florida loses $12 billion plus in a year of its anti-immigration law. I think that it is important to talk about this because Florida did this in its one state. And now we're looking at a president that wants to do mass deportations countrywide. So, how will that impact us? Before I get to the article, I want to highlight that I do believe that we have a situation in America with undocumented migrants that needs to be worked out. I do not believe that our country wants to tackle that problem because if we streamline the process and allowed undocumented immigrants to become naturalized citizens, we would have, or companies would have to pay them fairly. And then we wouldn't have the boogeyman to point to and say, those people are the problems. They don't want to streamline the process because they work in so many fields in the United States. And then just think about how much more money these companies would have to shell out to pay those people fairly. Now, this person says, Chicago Black residents are literally being put aside in favor of illegal immigrants. I know that people only see the problem once it happens to them. Imagine putting illegal immigrants before tax-paying American citizens or all homeless Americans. And I do believe the way that the Republicans have played the game has been masterfully as far as optics. The way they put all of these migrants in sanctuary cities, they did really well at demonizing them. I get that. But the thing is, you ship them all away. You ship out labor. You ship out people that are actually paying for goods and services in these communities. You ship out people that are actually paying into government coffers that don't even get any of the benefits from it. But like I said, these people are the scapegoats. Our country on both sides does not want to streamline the process because those people are always going to be those people, the issue. They're the problem. They're always going to have somebody finger pointing, and we always will have low income people that will take these jobs that Americans don't want to work. But anyways, back to this article. A popular twist on a line first written by U.S. Navy Master Commandant Oliver Perry during the War of 1812 says, "We have met the enemy, and the enemy is us. It is true, we are addicted to the cheap cost of labor provided by foreign undocumented workers. They pick our fruit and vegetables in the fields, help build, upgrade, and maintain our homes, and take care of our children. Yet the cost and bureaucracy of hiring them is legally unrealistic. So we skirt around the law, and the workers are primarily paid under the table." Enter Florida's law addressing the problem, SB 1718. This legislation, introduced by Governor Ron DeSantis a year ago, made using E-Verify mandatory for any employer with 25 or more employees, imposed enforceable penalties for those employing undocumented aliens, and enhanced penalties for human smuggling. Additionally, this bill prohibited local governments from issuing identification cards to illegal aliens, invalidated ID cards issued to undocumented aliens in other states, and required hospitals to collect and submit data on the cost of providing healthcare to illegal aliens. There are about 130,000 undocumented immigrants married to Florida U.S. citizens, and up to 200,000 seasonal and migrant undocumented workers. The problem is the first year cost of all of this enforcement, primarily aimed at these 300,000 individuals in Florida, will exceed $12 billion, according to the Florida Policy Institute. Why is legally employing migrant workers so difficult? The answer is that following the rules is almost a mission impossible. Consider these regulatory requirements. This is the H-2A program process for agricultural workers. Step 1, petitioner submits temporary labor certification application to the U.S. Department of Labor. I'm not going to read all of this. Step 2, petitioner submits Form I-129 to USCIS. After receiving a temporary labor certification for H-2A employment from the Department of Labor, the petitioner must file a Form I-129 with the USCIS. Step 3, prospective workers outside the United States apply for a visa and or admission. After USCIS approves the Form I-129, prospective H-2A worker who are outside of the U.S. must apply for a H-2A visa with the United States Department of State at the U.S. Embassy or consulate abroad, and then seek admission to the United States with the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Then they have to directly seek admission to the United States in an H-2A classification with the CPD, that is the Custom and Border Protection, at a U.S. port of entry. If a worker does not require a visa in cases where an H-2A visa is not required. For non-agricultural workers, the relevant visa is a H-2B visa. To qualify for H-2B visa classification, the petitioner must establish that there are not enough U.S. workers who are able, willing, qualified, and available to do the temporary work. Employing H-2B workers will not adversely affect the wages and working conditions of similarly employed U.S. workers. Its need for prospective workers, services, or labor is temporary, regardless of whether the underlying job can be described as temporary. The employer's need is considered temporary if it is one-time occurrence. A petitioner claiming a one-time occurrence must show that it has an employment situation that is otherwise permanent, but a temporary event or of short duration has created the need for a temporary worker. Not employed workers to perform the service or labor in the past and will not need workers to perform the services of labor or labor in the future, or seasonal need. A petitioner claiming a seasonal need must show that the service or labor for which it seeks workers is traditionally tied to a season of the year by an event or pattern and of a recurring nature. So they have to do all of that or hit all of those checkpoints. And that's the reason why above it said that this is basically a mission impossible. As you can see, there's more. There's a lot of things to check off the list to get these people these visas that they need. There's one more page. And like I said, I'm not reading through all of this. As you can see, it's just a lot of admin and checking off things. Patience and cost. Who has the patience and is willing to incur the cost, including legal fees and time expended to get this legally right? Hiring foreign workers legally is so difficult, it is easier to just do it illegally, and that is what is wrong. A gut punch to Florida. Commenting on the law's passage last year, American Immigration Lawyers Association President Jeremy McKinney said, SB 1718 is a gut punch to Florida's future. The law will frighten people away from seeking urgent hospital care and reduce road safety. It will keep families separated and make it harder for houses of worship to serve parishioners. The list of harmful provisions in this bill goes on and on. Like another hurricane, SB 1718 will leave a wake of devastation in its path that includes Florida's businesses, families, immigrant communities, and their loved ones. Regardless of what Governor DeSantis or the Republican supermajority in the Florida legislature believe, immigrants play an essential role in everyday life. It appears McKinney was right. Washington is where the solution is to be found. But the essence of the problem lays in Washington, not in Florida or Texas. It is not a Biden problem nor a Trump problem. It is an American problem. Both Democrats and Republicans need to deal with it jointly. Congress needs to act on this on a bipartisan basis. Simplifying the process of legally hiring temporary foreign workers is a task urgently needed. It will help stem the tide of illegal crossings over the southern border and help the economy get back on track. In the meantime, adopting measures like the one Florida adopted will only complicate and exacerbate the problem. And I do believe that this is something that has to be bipartisan, but we saw what happened with the bipartisan border bill, where it was it was torpedoed by the Republicans because they didn't really want to get anything accomplished. They don't really want to solve the problem. And I don't think that this is going to be a problem that does get solved because we get these migrant workers to pay at really low wages. We get them to do these jobs that many Americans don't want to do. And also, they get to be the scapegoats of everything wrong in this country, despite the fact that they are valuable in the economy. They spend money here. They prop up economies that would flounder without them. So I don't believe that there's going to be any changes because both sides are, pointing the finger at the other, they're the problem. They don't want to get anything solved. But these are real life humans that are getting caught in the crossfire, and our country's health, our agriculture, our housing, our roads are impacted as well. And many of these things are going to crumble if we don't get this under control. They can mass deport all that they want to. It's going to make the birth rate tumble. It's going to make the construction economy crumble. It's going to make the food supply crumble. But then we will see how valuable these people really are. Join the conversation. Let me know what you think about all of this. Don't forget. Are you part of the mass exodus from Twitter to Bluesky? It seems like the social media wars has been really popping ever since Elon Musk became the co-vice president, the unelected co-vice president. Financial Times is talking about all of them. He's also talking about threads and Meta and all of that. It says Meta loses ground to Bluesky as users abandon Elon Musk X/Twitter. Meta Threads is losing ground to social media startup Bluesky and capitalizing on the exodus of users from Leon Tusk X following Donald Trump's election and his co-vice presidency. Since Election Day, app usage of Bluesky in the United States and the UK skyrocketed by almost 300% to 3.5 million daily users, according to data from research group SimilarWeb. The site was boosted as academics, journalists, and left-leaning politicians abandoned X, whose billionaire owner is a prominent supporter of the president-elect. Bluesky has rapidly overtaken Threads in website user numbers, though Threads still leads in app usage. So here is a better view of the graphs. This is for website users. This is for app users. So you can see as far as website usage, Bluesky has overtaken Threads. For a little while, it was like neck and neck right here, and then Bluesky jumped, and Threads is down here. But over here on the app, it looks like, well, you see this jump is pretty dramatic. That's a pretty dramatic jump. If Bluesky keeps on going up with this trajectory, it will overcome Threads soon. So you can see that right now. That's as far as the app usage. I will say I do have a presence on both, and I did actually I just got off of Twitter and deleted the app and all of that. I deactivated and deleted the app just yesterday. So I am now officially off X/Twitter. You can find me at Bourbon Bougie on Bluesky, and I have the same name over on Threads as well. Okay, back to the article. Prior to November 5th, Threads had 5 times more daily active users in the United States than Bluesky, which has just 20 full-time staff and was initially funded by Twitter when Jack Dorsey was its chief executive. Now Threads is only 1.5 times larger than its rival, SimilarWeb said. November 5th to right now is a short time span for Bluesky to gain that much ground. Bluesky's growth in the United States and UK comes after Meta chief executive Mark Zuckerberg chose to deliberately reduce the prominence of political content across its apps, including Facebook and Instagram. That move was widely interpreted as an attempt to rise maybe above, the partisan fray and avoid being dragged into debates over free speech. Trump, who has long castigated social media platforms for allegedly censoring conservative voices, previously labeled Meta as an enemy of the people and threatened Zuckerberg with jail were he to return to office. Last month, Trump has said he likes Zuckerberg much better now because he was staying out of the election. Now, if Trump is saying that he likes you, you must be doing something extremely wrong. All right, it says this contrasts with X, which under Tusk ownership has cut back on content moderation to allow more freewheeling content to proliferate. Since its launch in July last year, Threads has prioritized engaging content from accounts that users did not follow, a model closer to that of its photo app Instagram. However, Meta on Thursday backtracked on that choice. This week, it also swiftly rolled out the ability for users to curate custom feeds around topics or people they want to follow, mimicking existing Bluesky capabilities after testing the feature for only 5 days. And you definitely see different things if you're on Bluesky versus Threads. Threads is more like social commentary and culture. And then you get on Bluesky and it's like a bunch of political stuff and journalism and news. It's very different. But, maybe people want different things for different reasons, and there's no real reason for them to mimic each other. You can, you go to a restaurant for pizza, you go to a different restaurant for tacos. You have different options for how you're feeling for that day. The move sparked speculation that Meta was trying to curb Bluesky's rise. Meta says we regularly roll out new Threads features and updates, dozens in the last few months alone, to serve the now 275 million Threads users, and will continue to share more as we work to serve this growing community. Experts have noted the Threads timeline was not effective for people seeking content on real-time events. There is this moment here where they're going to have to make this decision, whether to bring back political content and real-time conversation, said Katie Harbath, a former policy director who worked on Meta's election strategy for a decade, particularly if these Bluesky numbers stay up. And I do believe that Bluesky is going to continue to shoot up, especially the way you've seen that big old jump within a couple of weeks. Adam Tinworth, a lecturer in journalism at City St. George's University of London, described Bluesky as essentially a Twitter spinoff and so a natural replacement to those disillusioned with X. Threads is a very different proposition and fluffed it completely during the U.S. election because it pushed news and politics out of the feed, he said. Bluesky was unveiled by Dorsey in 2019 with the aim of developing a single standard or protocol upon which social platforms and other developers could build more tailored offerings. Now led by digital rights activist and software engineer Jay Graber, users can post short messages and images in an interface much like that of X. Growth has been helped by a new feature called Starter Packs, which allows users to follow groups of accounts curated by users with a click of a button. However, the platform has also suffered from increased outages and glitches as it grows quickly, with questions about how it will create a working business model in the future. Initially funded by Twitter, it raised $15 million in venture funding last year and $8 million the year prior. Adam Mosseri, the head of Threads, said last week that the app had gained more than 15 million signups in November alone and was going on 3 months with more than 1 million signups a day. Now we have a lot more work to do. I wish this article went into how many people Twitter has lost in this same time frame. That would have been a great feature to have with this one article. I did try to see if there were any numbers that reflected the amount of people that had left Twitter. So this article is from the Euro News. Are users leaving Elon Tusk X en masse, and where are they heading? It says hundreds of thousands of dissatisfied users have reportedly fled Elon Tusk X, previously known as Twitter, following Donald Trump's re-election and his election of co-vice president. And then I'm just skipping down to the bottom. but determining the exact number of users leaving X is challenging as the platform does not regularly release its global user data. So we probably won't know unless somebody has just been watching numbers and watching them decrease and like highlighting it, because Tusk is probably not going to highlight that because he probably does not want to seem like he is failing and flailing. Anywho, let me know what you think about all of this. Join the conversation. Have you left the Twitter and Elon Tusk? Are you over on Threads? Are you over on Bluesky? Let me know. Join the conversation. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Someone sent me this Axios article simply titled, "The Resistance Goes Quiet." I think people are just tired, but let's get into this article. It says, while President-elect Trump's 2016 win sparked shock, outrage, and massive protests, the response to his 2024 victory has been more muted. The big picture. 2016 birthed the resistance, a political movement to protest Trumpism online and in the streets. There's still plenty of resistance to Trump across the country, but little mass mobilization. That could change as Trump moves to implement his agenda, but experts and activists expect the renewed resistance to come in different forms. Flashback. Trump won in 2016 despite trailing in the polls and within weeks of the infamous Access Hollywood tape and multiple SA allegations. This time, Democratic voters, particularly women, were just as disappointed but less shocked, says Lisa Mueller, a political science professor at Lancaster College. So they didn't have the same acute trigger to rush to the barricades that they did the first time, says Mueller, who studies why social movements succeed or fail. It's very likely that there is some disillusionment with activism. Mitchell Brown, a professor of political science at Auburn University, says one big factor is what cognitive psychologists call habituation. When you first see something unexpected, it's really jarring and you react strongly, she says. But the more you see and normalize something that was unexpected, the more habituated you become to it. State of play. It doesn't hurt the case to reflect first and resist second, says Mark Brilliant, a history professor at UC Berkeley, adding that prominent Democratic lawmakers are urging their party mates to look inward, which is always a good place to turn after defeat. Zoom in. Some activist groups are working with new resistance playbooks and pivoting their strategies. Tamika Middleton, managing director at Women's March, told Axios the organization is trying to find new ways to mobilize people, such as holding local level training sessions on combating misinformation and sharing strategies for immigrants to protect themselves. The group is also trying to build out a coalition with other activist groups working on issues from abortions to immigrant rights. We have been through a Trump presidency before, so we have some sense of what we have to anticipate and also some sense of what we need, Middleton says. We know we need a bigger, more robust movement, which means that we have to be bringing in as many people as possible. Between the lines, an event scheduled for January, dubbed the People's March, will inevitably be compared to the massive Women's March 8 years earlier, which garnered hundreds of thousands of participants and spurred nationwide sister marches. Some activists are wary that the turnout will be much smaller. What to watch? A part of the shifting playbook could be a more focused approach targeting specific Trump policies versus Trumpism as a whole. Protests are unlikely to unseat Trump, but they could build momentum around a specific policy outcome. The policy line, the exhaustion is real among those who organized against Trump during his first term, only to see him elected again, Middleton says. Part of what is beautiful about what mobilization offers inside of these moments is that they activate and bring in new people who have new energy. And what I say to this, I really do think that people are tired. People are tired. We had a lot of things to say leading up to the election, and the Republicans got it. They got Congress, they got the presidency, and they have the Supreme Court. They're going to do what they're going to do. There's no amount of fighting it. We can't do anything. So all we can do is sit back and watch. And I do believe that at this particular juncture, we have to let them do what they're going to. This is me saying this. Let them pass what they're going to pass because he has everything that he needs to get through all of his campaign promises. So this upcoming election season, this upcoming presidency, this administration is going to be completely on the Republicans. There will be no other scapegoats because they have everything that they needed and wanted to pass legislation that they want to see passed. If they want to add tariffs to everything, if they want to deport millions of people, if they want to separate families, if they want to, whatever, they're going to do what they're going to do. And we're all going to be figuring it out. Are they going to gut the Department of Education like he wants? Are they going to scrap a bunch of jobs in the government because they just want to, and they're going to let Elon Musk scrap people's jobs? This is resigned laughter, but I don't think the resistance is going to put up much resistance. Just let them do what they're going to do at this particular point and see what we look like on the other end. We've already been through this. So, let's just see what happens. Let me know. Are you exhausted? Are you tired of fighting? Do you want to see what's going to happen? Let me know in the comments. Join the conversation. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.